What is up, guys? Today I'm going to be reviewing Star Wars: The Phantom Menace. Honestly, I have no script for this video. I don't even have bullet points to go off of. But I've seen this movie so many times that I don't think it matters. And I think this is actually going to be a good way for me to just come up with a very natural response. Because I feel very passionately about this movie. And I have a lot of opinions, both good and bad. And I feel like this is just going to be a great way for me to kind of rant and get my opinions out there. And hopefully sometime in the future I can get to all the other movies and we can formulate some kind of list of rankings, you know, where I put all the Star Wars movies out of the 7, or I guess 8 if you're counting Rogue One. Yeah, I guess another reason why I didn't feel like writing a script is because it's spring break and I'm feeling kind of lazy right now. So, yeah, I'm on my 3rd cup of coffee today. And I just feel like talking about Star Wars: The Phantom Menace. So without further ado, let's get into it. Star Wars: The Phantom Menace is a movie that I love. I love this movie. When people talk about nostalgia, I mean, this is true nostalgia for me just as much as the original trilogy or any of the other Star Wars movies. Now, like any good fan should, I watched the original trilogy first and then went to watch the prequels, and by the time I was watching the original trilogy, I think Revenge of the Sith was in theaters, so pretty much most of the prequels, they've already came out, so there's really no gap for me because of my age, and I feel just the same nostalgia-wise about Phantom Menace as I do about the original trilogy, so I think that's a good way of just kind of getting past the bias. I saw them at pretty much the same time, same age, and I kind of feel the same nostalgia for them. However, I do not think they're equal movies. It's pretty clear to me that The Phantom Menace is significantly worse. So I think for this review, I'm going to kind of get into the pros and the cons of the movie. Let's starting off with pros. One thing I love about this movie is Duel of Fates, and I think this is something that everyone talks about, and this is both the soundtrack and the actual scene. John Williams is a god, he is a legend, and Duel of Fates was an awesome original soundtrack that totally captured the essence, the adventure, the excitement of Star Wars. And it's a soundtrack that I'll listen back to even when I'm not watching the movie. I love it that much. The scene itself, the Duel of Fates with Obi-Wan Kenobi, Qui-Gon Jinn, and Darth Maul, was an amazing fight scene. It was grounded and emotional, like the original trilogy lightsaber duels, but also had a little bit more flair to it, like some of the later prequel duels, which, newsflash, I don't like them as much, and I'll get to that probably in my other reviews, but I think this combined the old and the new very well, and I thought this was one of the greatest parts of the movie. Another thing I liked about this movie were the casting choices. I think Liam Neeson as Qui-Gon Jinn was an awesome choice, and I think he just played the part very well as the wise, stoic Jedi Master that he was supposed to be. A little bit of a rogue, but still a good guy who was looking out for Anakin and really had Anakin's best interests and, in a way, the Jedi Council's best interests throughout the film. I also love Ewan McGregor. Ewan McGregor is an awesome actor. We don't really see much of him in this movie, so I'll probably talk a little bit more about him in my reviews of Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, but I really think he captures Obi-Wan Kenobi perfectly. Now getting into Anakin. Now Anakin is played by child actor at the time, Jake Lloyd. Now a lot of people have a huge problem with Jake Lloyd's acting, and I got to agree that it's not amazing, but I really don't think it did anything bad to the film. Some people say it totally ruined the film, but the thing is, it's hard to find child actors that are extremely talented, extremely amazing, and I think he really did fine. Honestly, it's kind of sad because I guess in real life he was actually bullied for even playing a role in the movie, which is pretty pathetic, but I mean, I really don't think he did anything that ruined the movie. For me, the flaws come way deeper into the very plot and structure of the movie. I think one of the things I really think is terrible about this movie is the politics. The politics make no sense. Now, I'm someone who's actually very interested in political science, in law, in how just political structures work. And while I don't know a ton, I know enough, and I think even someone who doesn't know about politics knows enough to say that this movie is ridiculous. Especially the part with the Trade Federation. I think that part is absolutely ridiculous when they say, "We object, you have no proof." It's like they clearly have proof. I mean, there was 2 Jedi on the planet. There's the Queen from the planet there. I mean, I assume there's some kind of recording device in the ships or some way they could send communications or just send someone over there. It obviously doesn't take that long to travel in hyperspace. Just send a party over there and observe that the Trade Federation is totally blocking the planet. And I think that was absolutely ridiculous. Also, Amidala's choice to go with the vote of no confidence in Chancellor Valorum, who was kind of their biggest supporter, and she kind of shot herself in the foot with that one. I just think that whole scene on Coruscant is so deeply flawed that I can't even begin to get into it, but those things just drive me crazy. And even as a younger kid, I picked up on how ridiculous they were. Watching it now, it's even more laughable. So yeah, the politics, absolutely horrible. And just shows that George Lucas, while he can do some great things, and I still love Lucas and his creative ability, he really can't write politics. And that's one of the main problems with The Phantom Menace and the other prequels, is that he kind of tries to do everything himself. Writes it, directs it, and it ends up he really overextends himself, and it really falls flat. Another thing I think is kind of weird is the whole romance between Anakin and Padme in this movie, since Anakin is so much younger, or at least seems so much younger, that just kind of is a little creepy. It's a little weird and hard to pick up on. And I know they made him young because they wanted to, push the trauma of his separation between his mom and how that kind of influenced his life, but I really think that was a terrible, terrible choice to have him that young, because it just made the romance really weird and kind of creepy in the later films, even though the age difference seems to go away a little bit. That was another thing I didn't like. Another thing bad about this movie is the pod racing scene. Honestly, it's eye candy. It's like Michael Bay. It's like Transformers. There's explosions, there's colors, there's speed, but there's nothing to it. There's no substance. Even that whole subplot of the movie is it's just ridiculous. I mean, Qui-Gon Jinn could have got the parts any way he wanted to. He could have just stole them, for Christ's sake. I mean, excuse me, but it's absolutely terrible. I mean, it's pointless, really, just to see the pod racing. And it's kind of fun the first time. It's fun when you're a little kid, but if you watch it, that's a scene I would actually skip because it's really boring to me. So I really hate that part of the movie. And see, I pretty much hate most scenes of the movie, except Dual Face, which I think is pretty exciting and well choreographed, and I think kind of redeems it. Another thing I don't like about this movie is Jar Jar Binks. Now, I'm probably the 1 billionth person to say this, and I don't hate Jar Jar as much as some people. I don't think he absolutely ruins the movie, but I think his sense of comic relief is it's too ridiculous. It's kind of, in a way, un-Star Wars to me. It's way too childish. I mean, bringing poop jokes into Star Wars, I just don't think was the best idea, and that's what Jar Jar was. He was just one giant poop joke. It's just stupid. It's juvenile, and I don't think we needed a comic relief in a movie it's not even very dark, I mean, without Jar Jar, it could still be a fun movie for kids. I don't think even kids like Jar Jar that much. Maybe they did. Yeah, I saw this movie as a young kid, and I didn't think Jar Jar was that great. But then again, I don't hate him like some people do, and I kind of find the whole, Jar Jar was the Dark Lord of the Sith theory kind of interesting, but I totally don't agree with it. I don't think that was Lucas's intention. I don't think he thought about it that much. I think we as fans sometimes totally overanalyze these movies. And just the fact I'm doing a review on this movie in 2017 is kind of proves the point that we think about these movies way too much because we love Star Wars. And because we are... Oh, my computer just went off. Because we're just total Star Wars nerds here that we just want to pick apart everything about this movie, or about all the movies, and really come to the conclusion there's not a lot good about this movie. There's really not a lot. It's actually quite boring. The scenes are kind of just thrown together, going from pod racing subplot that is total eye candy and pointless into terrible politics, terrible character decisions. Cool design though. That's one other plus about the movie besides Duel of Fates and the casting. I like the design of this movie. I love the design of the characters. Darth Maul is absolutely scary as shit. He is amazing. He's like the devil. Face tattoos, devil horns, a double-bladed lightsaber. It was just so intimidating, and that seems really cool. It's still really fun to watch and brings back a lot of good memories. And it kind of sucks his character was killed off. And yes, I know he's brought back in the Clone Wars and Rebels and whatnot, but I mean, that's pretty ridiculous. And his character was prematurely killed, in my opinion. And we didn't really get to know a lot about him, which I think that was kind of the point, but his design was awesome. Same with the planets. I love the design of Naboo. I think it looks, even though it's kind of, old technology CGI, I still think it looks fantastic. And it's a planet that I would love to go visit if it was real. I mean, really cool architecture, kind of evocative of ancient Greece or ancient Rome, some kind of utopia. Same with Coruscant. I think Coruscant is just a real cool concept. The whole planet is one giant city. I think that's really, really interesting. Tatooine, of course, we've seen before. So I think the planets and the cities were designed very well. The characters were designed very well. It's just the story, the story just doesn't make sense, and it's just written terribly. The acting is fine for the most part. That doesn't detract. It's really the writing. It's really the writing of this movie that really makes it suck. And this is a movie that I will always love. I'll always love this movie. It will always have a special place in my heart. But like everyone else, you have to admit, you can't trick yourself into believing that it's good. You have to admit that this is a pretty bad movie. And that's that. What do you guys think of this review? Do you want to see more? Comment below. What do you think of this movie? Do you think my review is accurate? Or do you think it was a little too harsh? Maybe you like the prequels equally to the original trilogy. Maybe you even like them more, if you're some crazy person. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Until next time, signing off.